This is great.
Somebody in PNM loves me and want me join the party. So they sign up my name upon a form and send to the secretary. I hear the whole general council voted for me except Merrick the PRO. He say I love Chalky as much as you do, but rain might fall and wet we cocoa. Merrick say, if you love him, bring him in. If you love him, bring him in. But be prepared for anything. Like all you want the public to get to know that we fired Jean Miles from Whitehall just so, cause she slapped up a minister who tried to kiss her. Bring him in. If you want the nation to know the truth, Robbie will Eric in his libel suit, and Eric have to pay him plenty money to boot. Well then, Merritt say, it ain't no big thing. Bring him in. Juba Juba. The people in PNM love me, even though Merritt warned them. They say let's make him a member still to shake up the PNM. They say if men like Chalky were inside here, the big boys would have us scared, and we would get to know the PNM members who thief special works money in St. Clair. Merritt say, if you love him, bring him in. If you love him, bring him in. But Chalky might spoil everything. Oh, yeah. Like all you want people know that Ellis Clark, they come in to rule Governor General Spark. He say in Washington I'm a boss, I can't ride no horse. If you want the nation to get to here, that we send where the big boys on our list here, and gave him 24 hours to move from here. Well then, Merritt say, it ain't no big thing. Bring him in. Juba Juba. The General Council then told Merritt, shut up now and listen. Why don't you go and tell Kamal boys stop shooting birds out of season? They say it's stooges like you who make Williams feel that he alone is the party. That's why he sold and bought back the telephone company without consulting anybody. Merritt said, if you love him, bring him in. If you love him, bring him in. But Chalky might spoil everything. Oh yes. We send Waity Shade to get rid of she, and soon Carl joining the London Embassy. If you bring in that short rat, he might sing about that. Bring him in. If you want the nation to understand that a big husband named Shaver Man just pose as a doctor, but in fact the man is a quack. Well then, it's a simple thing. Bring him in.
This is great.
Merritt stood shaking inside his shoes, and off to Whitehall he ran. But when Eric heard the great good news, he nearly charged him for sedition. He told him, go and tell the Trinidad Guardian we reject the application. History proves that I must pick incompetent men to remain in my high position. Told him, if you love him, bring him in. If you love him, bring him in. But Chalky is not to my liking. Oh yes, like all you want the police to get to hear. A moving Bernard to put on his spear. And it's not Chalky alone, pal. I am all freakers. Bring him in. If you want the nation now to hear, I may tell a black man, city mayor, cause on the clothes does look up some key. He does make them free. Well then, if you never committed sin, bring him in. Juba, Juba.
This is Caribbean Vibes.
In the Oval to see Pele match, I sat next to Dr. Barat. We had a long talk. I said, listen, Doc, you know about my people that I'm not wrong the world. You thus travel to study insane people. But Doc, why do you go overseas when we have madmen here like peas? I asked him, Doc, what would you say if I should throw a dead dog on Frederick Street? I'll say you're mad. I'll say you're mad. All right. And if I give a dead kobo to everyone I meet, I'll say you're mad. Oh, I'll say you're mad. Well then, if a man could watch Killer Bass Friday and build houses so near for people to stay, to take in that stinking stench the whole day, somebody have to be mad. Madman. Somebody up in Whitehall, man. In the Oval, Parrot was so shocked, he drank 3 straight rums on the rocks. With my talk, he disagreed. Chalky, I have too many mouths to feed. Doctor, be reasonable. You are trained to know my people. And if you can spot a madman just so, well then you are mad also. I asked him, Doc, if I should teach a Nigerian to model a dashiki, I'll say you're mad. I'll say you're mad. Yeah, man. And if Chalky went to Washington to sing soul and rock steady, I say you're mad. I say you're mad. Well then, if a man could leave Calypso and band to represent us up in Switzerland and send 6 girls to model there behind, somebody have to be mad. Madman. Somebody up in Whitehall, man. Juba, Juba. Juba, Juba. Dr. Barat, this is no joke, but you are not doing your work. If some men just curse or call Williams a louse, or you just put them inside the madhouse, Look, G Miles, just sing Kaiso. You put she in sentence just so. And J the Elder, raping our culture, Aubrey Adams, and he should be there. I ask him, Doc, if I run you down with a cutlass in order to kill you dead,
I say you're mine.
Zimbabwe,
I say you're mine.
amen. And when I corner you, I tell you pass, you're free to go instead.
I say you're mine. I say you're mine.
Well then, if a man could hold our soldiers just so, and to keep them jailed, you spend so much dough, and next day tell them they are free to go. Somebody have to be mad, mad.
Somebody up in Whitehall, man.
This is Caribbean Vibe.
Dr. Barra, now get this straight. I'm not talking about Eric. I don't connect him with insanity, cause he went to a university. I wonder if it's George Dunn. Oh no, he couldn't be the one. He has a good brain, so then it must be the tall shiny lady. I asked him, Doc, if I turn down a hungry man, even though I have cash on me,
I say you're mine. I say you're mine.
Alright. And if I watch that very man and take away his money,
I say you're mine. I say you're mine.
well then, if every year a man taxing the skin, bread, butter, milk, oil, gas, and rum raisin, although we are jobless, poor and stunted, somebody have to be mad. Dr. Barra,
Somebody up in Whitehall, man.
oh,
Somebody got to be wait, madam, madam. Somebody got to be mad. Oh boy, if a man would watch Tiger Bay and say that you can build a basketball court and put it in Tiger Bay and liberate the people from poverty. Somebody got to be mad. Somebody up in State House, mad. Oh boy. Kaiso, that's why it's the greatest music in the world. Can't. Somebody have to be mad. Somebody have to be mad. And before that, bring him in. If you want the nation to know what is the connection between Mohammed and the government, bring in the Kaisonian. If you want the nation to know why we have 40-something% poverty and we are the fastest growing economy, bring in the Kaisonian. Good evening to you and welcome to Politics 101. Henry Jeffries here. Dr. Jeffrey, he's here and he's going to, he is Dr. Barrett, the what you all call them? Psychiatrists. They study madness. Dr. Jeffrey study madness. He got help to break it down for us. I know we in Guyana, we are Dr. Beckles. Those of you know Guyanese Kaisonians, Dr. Beckles, Lord Canary, them chaps and ladies, they had their art form done. It's Tuesday evening, and good night. I see Ashley is here out of the United Kingdom. It's morning, the night going on to morning. Night going on to morning. I always take my hat off to those of you in those far off places who stay with us. A good evening to all of you joining us from Europe. Of course, those of you in the United States who are joining us, you all already start preparing. I was about to say turkey, but I know West Indians well. You all don't get time with turkey on Thanksgiving is the curry and cook up and the jerk pork and the jerk chicken and the chow mein and just lay out the table, lay out the table for Thanksgiving. West Indians turned the Thanksgiving thing into family reunion, and they don't turkey. They said turkey meat too dry. Turkey meat too dry. So they just go with the other meat. I know you all start preparing to it. Today's what, Tuesday. The Thanksgiving thing is just 48 hours away. Less than that. Thursday all day. I shall be making my way to Maryland to be with the family there. I don't like the story around Thanksgiving, but it's time to be with family, and I shall be making my way there in the next few hours. So I lived there for 11 years, so it's considered to be my American home. Hope to see some of you there. I know Friday night there's a big to-do, the cricket club black tie affair. Well, you all know I don't have tie, so you all will have to admit me in the dance without the tie. But I hope to see some of you there. I think that is on Friday night, no? I think so. So I hope to mingle with the Guyanese brethren and sister in there. Welcome to Politics 101. All of you are joining us from in Guyana. The rainy season has started, so almost every day the rain falling and so on. Well, the story that the sun did in the last couple of months, the story that sun, right? Welcome rain. Anytime I ain't want the flooding, but Lord, that sun, as we used to say when I was a small boy, is the father, the son, and perhaps the grandson. That sun was something else. So it's glad that the rains are here and it's cooled the place down a little bit. It's that time of the year again when we'll get some mangoes. I miss mango, a couple of weeks ago I was in Georgetown and I said, well, how the mango going? 7 for $700. I said, how much you want? The lady said, Doctor, is you smart too bad. I know if I say 1 for 100, the people gonna walk away. So she said 7 for 700. I said, why you didn't say 10 for 1,000? She said that's big money. 7 for 700. And it's good to see mangoes coming back slowly on the market, and so we'll get our box of spice, and because the ones I'm seeing now in the markets is grafted. I like grafted, but grafted ain't getting meat, grafted slender, and so far by Christmas time, I hope the 7 for 700 will come down. It's amazing. It's amazing the prices. Lord of mercy. I passed through Arizona, I think a couple of months ago, and I got here a couple of days ago and ventured into the supermarket, and I thought I was on a different planet. The prices, high prices. I got a friend from I got a friend from Grenada. She mother used to sell food, And she was one of the first persons that had a van, put she food in she van, and she going from work site to work site. And they said she priced the higher than other people who selling food. She said, well, I bring in the food to you, and I walk and go no way. I get van. And I think, they call her high prices. She said, well, the high prices are justified. I don't know whether the high prices we're seeing in the market. I mean, I kind of get used to it in Guyana, being there more now. But my goodness, Lord. Welcome. Good evening to you, my sister Denise. Good evening, Flash Gordon. Mr. David. Why, lad. Real old-time Guyanese. Mr. David. Flash Gordon, one of our philosophers, one of our characters, one of our more serious contributors and students of this program. Only Flash Gordon is responsible for what Flash Gordon is saying. You hear what said Mr. David the other morning? He quoted a scripture upon me. I think it's as Isaiah something. Oh boy. Good evening to you. I think we're ready for Dr. Jeffrey now. And we have lots to talk about. Good evening to all of you. You all are coming in your numbers. Linden in the house, Moko in the house, Buxton in the house, Ans Grove in the house. Oh Lord, you all coming in. West Bobis, Bushlat is in the house, Mr. Aziz, Mr. Mistress Aziz, out there, West Coast Bobis. Virgin Islands, Audrey is coming in from the British Virgin Islands. Audrey Ward, good evening to you. The BVI, as they say. I haven't had a chance to come out to the BVI yet, but I understand it's they're quite some beautiful islands. John said he's cooking duck. He's cooking duck for the Thanksgiving. Duck is a man now. I watched a duck in the supermarket the other day, then I turned my face real quick. Price is high. Turn my face away from the duck. Quick time. And I like duck, but oh Jesus. When you buy duck, your pocket gonna be high. Well, it's once a year, John. It's once a year, so I guess you're going all out. That's like my sister who takes charge of the Thanksgiving thing there in Maryland, and she start busy herself since over the weekend. Going all out. I think she might get some duck too. All right. A fried turkey. I've heard of that. I've heard that the turkey, when you fry it, it's a better thing than the baked turkey story. People swear by that. People swear by the fried turkey. I don't know whether they bake it and then fry it. I don't know, but people have told me that I should try the fried turkey because it give the turkey some juice. Because the turkey by itself is a hard man. Special good evening to all of you. Dennis Champagne Collison from New Jersey. Thank you very much. Linda Follow from New Jersey. Diane from Maikoni. Which part of Maikoni, Diane? Maikoni is a big place. 20 little village. Annandale, Mortal. Annandale. We say Annandale. Welcome. Beverly Fraser, welcome. You see you all coming out in droves for Dr. You're all coming out in droves for Dr. Jeffrey tonight. I'm not jealous. Dr. Jeffrey is a star. Lynette, my countrywoman, it's always good to see you. You're always on. Hoping to see you home for Christmas, Lynette, and bring Rocky when you come in. Yes, Ariel, Diane says she's from Ariel. Myconi, and those of you who know Myconi very well, Myconi and Mahika is a set of villages. Good evening to you, Thomasina Ben. The baked turkey wings is good too. Dennis Booker said the baked turkey wing. Good evening. I'm gonna tell my sister to see if she can do the baked turkey, bake the wing. I know my old auntie Yvonne Levy. She believed in a turkey wing. She anything turkey wing. She cook up, she puts a turkey wing. She think turkey wing. She was a great believer in turkey wing. Yvonne Levy from Buxton, Auntie Yvonne. Look, my partner, Turkey from Buxton. Turkey's Christmas. You gotta stop rowing with them people who vote win. Me I know about you. Me I know about you that times. You can think. But you see all them who vote win, me done. I'm not resigning from the great party, but I'm done with politics. Why you done with politics? Them people vote win. Them people vote win. Turkey, and he's not done with the great party, but he done with the people that we win. Yankee, you that times you can continue. Politics. You hear. I don't think people will stop talking about this election for a long time to come. Diamond New Scheme in the house. Welcome to you all from Diamond New Scheme, watching from Berbice. Well, Jamal, I know which part of Berbice you're watching from. And Mortal Short, and then I see a Mortal Stephen is in the house. Oh, and you're all coming out for Dr. Jeffrey tonight. I think I might get a little jealous. Let Dr. Jeffrey come in because, Doc.
Hi, David. How are you?
Well, I there fighting up. What people say, me there me mouth lang, some say kill 'em, some say spear 'em. But we keep on keeping on. I was making the point just now, Doc, that people still are talking about the 2025 election, people on all sides, those who voted for the government, those who voted against the government. I was making the point there, but my friend Turkey, who's a PNC stalwart, go back to the old days and he do all the training thing under Burnham and so on. He said a great party, but he done with politics. He ain't done with the great party, but he done with politics. And he tell me, you can go along and continue with them, but me done. I done with why you and just as we are talking about this, the EU observation team came out with their report this past week, and it caused quite a story. Your column on Sunday, which you titled thank you, Dr. Ali. Let me make sure I get it right. Yes, thanks, President Ali. And headlines tell a lot. Thanks, President Ali. And at first I said, well, wonder what Jeffrey thanking President Ali for. But again, it was the commentary on the EU report and President Ali's response to that EU report and Jeffrey's response to President Ali's response. So let's start, Doc, by, I mean, why are we still talking about the elections 3 months on? Some people are mourning, some people are rejoicing, but the elections are still on our mind. Why?
Well, largely, again, let me say thank you for having me on, and thanks for your guests for coming out to listen to us, because I think the election was important, not because of what happened in the first instances. The PNC defracted, broke up into two, and there was an interjection there. I believe that interjection by Mohammed was largely supported by the PPP, but that's beside the point. An interjection came in. But you must understand, in terms of political process, what happened in 1 year is not something that you can call permanent in any sort of way. You have to get about, 3-4 election cycles before you start considering anything stable. Look at the WPA, 2006, and look where they are today. But I don't think they are.
You mean the AFC?
The AFC, yes, the AFC. They were 2006, and look where they are today. I don't even think Mohammed would get to 2000 to the next election in any serious way, but that's another story altogether. What makes this election even more dynamic is the point you just made. The European Union just came out and said, we can't certify the election was free. And if it ain't free, it can't be fair. So that's a big statement. That's a huge statement. The PPP used to sell that for years. All the observers said. I see the UNDP come out with something saying more or less that the day of the election was all right. That's fine. But the day of election, a large way was fine because the entire process that got to the election was unfair and not free. So, I mean, I am not going to knock them on the day, because an election process is not the day of the elections only. It's all that went on before, where you are suppressing voters, you're bribing voters. Up to now, they are still attempting to do it, although they have found themselves in a serious position, because it's a very serious thing. One of the major observers, Gupta, said we can't say the election is free, and that means fair. So where do we go? You present yourself to the electorate as going for a democratic election. If you have one of the observers group that you always used to be shouting about, and now they're saying that they are not certain it's free. And it's not only they're saying so. I don't think they could avoid saying so. I said so in my article. When you look at Transparency International, I think it was said, the PPP and it's more or less the private sector, they have captured the state and using it for what? Well, what else they're using it for? That to make the election unfree. And if you make it unfree, you make it unfair. And if it's unfair, what happens then? You went to election claiming that it's free. That you are a democratic election. A democratic election is just not what happens on election day. It must happen in the entire process. And as I said, I knew long before that. I wrote on it. I said, the only way this election can be considered fair and free is if the opposition win. They have done everything possible to rig the election long before election day. So we are at the position now where we got to ask ourselves, is the government legitimate? One person wrote me and said, so what are you saying? This government is illegitimate? I said, I left that to the real politicians to determine, because there is a big issue. That's an issue. If the elections, you could present yourself to the electorate as doing for a democratic election, and at the end of the day, the people who are supposed to be able to say whether or not you, indeed, notwithstanding the UNDP report, your people on the GCOM did not even ratify the outcome. So I don't know how they didn't mention that. The UNDP did not mention that as their law, their intervention on the processes. But so where are we now? Do we live in a legitimate government, under a legitimate government?
Dr. Jeffrey, I and I'm glad you went there, because last night I think I dealt with the question and I came down on the side that I cannot give this government the stamp of legitimacy. But that was my night last night. Explain for our audience here the meaning of legitimacy, and I guess you're making the comparison between legitimacy and legal, because sometimes people get those two mixed up. When you talk about the government's legitimacy or lack thereof, what are we talking about?
We are talking about what the government is presenting itself to the country to be attempting to do, will be doing. We are coming to this country as a democratic government, a party, not as a government, as a party attempting to introduce democracy in Guyana, or to maintain it. Not already introduce, because we can say maintain it. But to maintain democracy, you have to have a free and fair election. If you don't have a free and fair election, where are you? And who determines what election are free or fair? It can't be the electorate, because they go and vote based upon the operations of the election. And we know the elections are manipulated long before election day. So the question is, it normally left to international and other observers, local too, to determine whether or not this election can be determined as free and therefore fair. So I would say from that standpoint, it's a questionable thing. And I didn't see your program. And it's other people saying that no, the government is legitimate. What needs to be done? No, it's not strictly, you can't go to law for that. Right. Because it's an entire political process. We're going to go to the law and show all you. What do you want to tell you? Bring election petition, and what you got to show that the government tried to suppress people. Yeah, it went as far as people claiming that the government are trying to introduce apartheid. But they were doing it all with one intention: to impoverish the African people and force them to vote for them. And that is essentially, in a sense, that they have succeeded in terms of Mohammed, but not in terms of themselves, because the African people never vote for them in any quantity. They only get to end up with 1,000 more votes in Linden. So for that reason, it's left to the population itself. And you know very much that this population is very divided on the PPP. So you wouldn't have any public opinion on that. And therefore, it's left with the international community to almost say what it should be considered the way forward here. They have said what they consider the way forward in terms of rectifying the system, in terms of the things that you have to do to make a government accountable to the people. They have even complained that they have been doing this for years, but nobody has been listening, and we end up where we end up today. But you introduce another, the other issue you introduce is the one about legitimate government legitimacy, rule of law or rule by law. Rule of law essentially means, and it's a dictatorial thing. A rule by law means the government sets laws and follow them. Now, the government in this country, it says, not the government, the parliament. The government in that sense includes the opposition. that particularly the person, the opposition that has been designated the legal or opposition. So, but this government wasn't talking to the opposition. They said they're not going to talk to the opposition because the opposition said that they re-election. Well, every government says that people election. Every government, the PVP said the PNC regarding the election, but everybody still spoke to each other. And if you are not going to even talk to them, to sit down, because lawmaking is not by a government alone. It is the government responsibility. But lawmaking is a process by which, in particularly, well, in any democratic system, because a government just win an election can be good, can be bad, all sort of things. As Huntington, I think, said, a government just win an election does not mean it can't be the most terrible government in the world. What stops the government from being a most terrible government in the world? That is because it's got to be accountable. And that involves a host of other factors, most of which Guyana did not have. For instance, we are talking about a cash grant. The way to do a proper cash grant was to long before tell people what this cash grant will be, and to make them be able to plan, but they are using a political strategy. Not only that, the cash grant should not be something that, oh, if I feel I give a cash grant, I'm going to give it. I can. This resource belongs to all of us. You should put it in law. Cash grants will come every month at X time, and people will get this. Not you sitting down like if you are some godhead and determine how the government, when cash grants will come, and I hope it come tomorrow, because then you can't plan for a start. Even if you wish to plan, you can't plan. You can't, because you don't know if it will come, when it will come. Well, you know from they will bring something, but you don't know what it is. If you want to do a cash grant, I think a universal basic income should be a must for a country like this. But outside of that, if you want to really live by the law and allow people to live by the law, and not upon your largesse when you feel like, what you should be doing essentially is saying, look, every 6 months you will get cash grant. Every time you get from payment from that's what they're doing in Suriname. They put it almost in your bank account. You ain't even got run around and all these things. But the PVP wants to use it as a political ploy. Like if they are giving something that belongs to them, but it is not so. And therefore, what we have here is a rule, well, not even by law, because they can say we went to the parliament and pass it, but they are not living by it, because they are determined on some when and how by themselves without even the opposition. The opposition is important in making laws in any democratic country. A party, PVP, PNC are only part of the people. They're not the whole people. And a party, they must sit down with the other parties and try to come up with a consensus, a thing of how we move forward. That's why half the roads we built are not built properly. They are built in terms of it. I went to a wedding the other night. You can hardly pass on the same road with a car. Now, how is that? If you went to a village and you sat down and said, look, we need to expand this, but the money we have, because no matter how much money we got, money is always short if you want to do things properly. You say, here what's happening. You're speaking to the local authority, you're speaking to the opposition, you're saying, first of all, you speak to the opposition. Well, first of all, you should really speak to the local authority. What are their needs? And let they define it, and then you come, all right, you agree, then you speak to the opposition, and you come up with something and say, look, if you want that road expanded, roads in that community expanded, we can only build 2 roads, not 5. We can only do 2. Now, to get that understanding, you have to have a consensus. But since you can't have a consensus if you're not speaking to the to the other side. It means that you're going to build 5 roads that's going to break up tomorrow and then tell people, look, I have done for you and that for you. But they don't understand. You're wasting their money. You're not giving them proper convenience. It's an amazing thing. And that's why, as I said, transparency could have said that the PPP has captured the state and do what it likes with it. Because see, if you capture the state, it means that you are not bound by the state, because you can change rules, change laws as you feel. And that is what is happening here in Guyana. And that is what is happening in most of the processes that led to the elections. And the result of, as I said, before any EU said anything, I said this election cannot be determined free and fair. Somebody got to be out of their mind. Only if the opposition win what the brother said, maybe it's fair.
Somebody got to be mad. Dr. Jeffrey said somebody got to be out of their minds. Chuck Dust says somebody got to be mad. Mad. Somebody got to be mad.
That's the talk that you will hear all over Port Spain. Oh boy, look, you sure to fail. Don't you go back there again.
If you want to win the ground,
you got to sing a suffer song. It must have some pep and jump to make people shake their bum. Chucky, I hope you see how Sparrow's outfit was well pretty. So to do best, you must dress like the test and jump with zest. Chucky, come off that scene, because you cannot whine like Francine. Do something high, you just can't cry.
Juba Dubai.
Juba Dubai. Mumbai. Hey. Dr. Henry Jeffrey here tonight, he said, somebody got to be mad. I mean, the European Union has really, in effect, said that the PPP won a stolen election. They won an election that was not free and fair. And the ball is in our court again. Good evening to you all. I see Wayne Caesar. Wayne, I haven't touched base with you. I know I owe you a couple of calls. Welcome, Wayne Caesar. Wayne has his program every Saturday night, over to you, every Saturday night on 107.1 FM. That's Mark's Bensop Radio. If you can tune in. Good evening to you, Lyndon Felix Daniels. I see my sister Stacy Wilson from Ansgrove. Stacy, good evening to you, young entrepreneur, doing fairly well, and always trying, especially our women, are always trying to do something with business, with little resources. Good evening to all of you, and welcome to Politics 101. Some of you are joining us here from Antigua. Good evening to all of you Antiguans, Guyanese, Antigans. Welcome to Politics 101 on a Tuesday night. Dr. Henry Jeffrey is here with us tonight. Dr. Jeffrey, you have been in government and you've had to grapple with the question of poverty. Recently, we saw the government ventured into Tiger Bay and pitched what they call a model plan to develop Tiger Bay. And there were some swift responses to the government intervention in there. The usual story of going and lifting up babies, half-naked babies, and so on. And then, going to the community, not talking about the basic income, not talking about job, but talking about basketball court and some training program here and there. It's never easy to really deal with the kind of poverty that we seeing a place like Tiger Bay. But I mean, the Tiger Bay is replicated around the country because the international agencies have said that our poverty rate is 48%, and they are pegging that at people living on 1,100 Guyanese dollars or less per day. So the challenge is not just for Tiger Bay, the challenge is for poverty in the country at large. But the government went into Tiger Bay. And since then, we've been hearing all kinds of theories as to what carries them into Tiger Bay. Is it really about lifting Tiger Bay people out of the condition they're in? Is it about other things? What's your take?
Well, with this government, it's always about trying to win votes. It's not, I mean, anything else. The Tiger Bay, it's like when we talk about the PPP and PNC and political parties. Well, it's not the same political parties, not the same Tiger Bay that we always knew. You must PPP today is not the PPP of Jagan time or the PNC of Burnham times. We speak of them as and go back to the legacy, but times have changed. Context has changed. In some case, you got better. In some case, you got worse. We can say definitely that in terms of the PPP, they got worse. Burnham must be, well, no, he's not Burnham. He got a cynical smile, but he's not a guy. I was about to say Burnham must be having a party, seeing that now the people who used to call him a dictator have now been designated a dictator. I'm all saying, but no, because Burnham you'd have a cynical kind of smile as you see how life is or something like that. Because he would regret it, even he himself would have regretted it, because Burnham was a dictator, but for a purpose. Even the French philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau, our contract man, he said, remember his book, Social Contract? He said he began the fourth sentence by saying, "Man not born free, but everywhere they are in chains." And there has never been anybody, philosopher, who would like to liberate man more than Rousseau, he might have said, because he even went to complicated discourse about the general will and the will of all. The general will is the general good, but the general will of all is election time and all of that. These discourses, of course, say something about where we are now in the election process. But even Rousseau said that a time can come when you will need a dictator to prevent people from destroying the general will, from destroying democracy. So that and the time did come after Janet and Cherry Jagan said they're going to carry everybody. Communist dies in the view of the Western world. So effectively, we are living in a kind of a system here that we need to sit down. We're talking about poverty. You have to sit down with every single body and work out a plan. You have to work out a plan that you can't change. I think I made that point just now when we were talking about thing. But you got to have Guyana. How you gonna have 40% poverty rate, and you are still messing around with handouts and all of that? How are people supposed to plan? What are they supposed to do with their lives? And as far as Tiger Bay is concerned, the people who are living in Tiger Bay today are not the people who've been living in Tiger Bay. Or if they are, many of them took government land that they give them to move them out of Tiger Bay and stay, as they've been trying to do on the train line and elsewhere. You give them land. I was there. I give land. people in Tiger Bay and so on, but they take the land and they stay or they pass it to the place to the relative, and because there's no development there, you have another set of people, and the city is like a transit point. You have another set of people coming in. It is not necessarily that, and the government will tell you, we have given land there and so on, and I agree with that. But what you have to do when you give land is follow up with a poverty program, a proper organized system in the area. When you do, you see what happened in the line top. The government give land on the line top. When you went to people on the line top, but until you decide to almost do something on the line top yourself, they would have gone back and said they're planting this, and that has happened all over Guyana. So what the government force, if the government wants to do something, they must say, look, we need to look after Tiger Bay. Let's talk to the community of Tiger Bay. How we can move forward here. This is it. And that is the kind of management. How can we move forward here if I give them two house lot or 3 pieces of land? In Tiger Bay, he's not giving that to the government. He's giving that to the people of Tiger Bay. And therefore, they are the first one that should have a say of how you think we should move out. Look, what we have here is chaos, more or less. People are living, but essentially we need a modern community here. How you think we can move up? And you use that to develop your own plan and incorporate the city with that. And after the city, you then establish that we have a way forward. Even if the government has some ideas, they must write it down and come and speak to the others. You can't just wake up a morning and come, we matter, give us some land. Since I hear it, I don't pay attention to it anymore. I pay absolutely no attention, because if the government cannot be held accountable for what the government give us largesse. But if you introduce a whole lot of people in it, the people will stand up and say, that is now we agree on. And if the government mess around, that's why Guyana doesn't have an accountable government. The government is simply not accountable. It can wake up a morning and use any majority, even if it wants it, and change the law. So how are you going to have a democracy?
Dr. Henry Jeffrey here tonight, weighing in on the subject of Tiger Bay, the subject of the European Union's election report, which has caused quite a stir with the government. We have pointed out that the last 2020 election, when we said, well, the boxes were opened, and we saw how systematically and in real terms, graphic terms, how the elections were rigged. I remember Nandlal and them said, you are talking nonsense. The international community, all of them said we won the election. And this time around, the international community said, well, you won a stolen election. And the president went off and carry on at a rate. And here we are. The point has been made by the international community. We know it, all of us in Guyana know it. But now an important observer team has made the point. Dr. Jeffrey, if you were to advise the opposition what to do with this report, what would you tell them?
First of all, I would recognize that you have to start from the position of saying, look, elections have always been a problem in Guyana. And for the most part, if you think, you just give us a bit of history, government legitimacy has always been a question. And because of the nature of the society we live in, I think the Biden administration came to government, or no, the Trump administration, first one, set up a group to look at Guyana, and they made the point that Guyana does not have a proper public opinion to hold governments accountable. Story done. No matter what the governments say, and that's not, yes, the report came in 2021, but they didn't pay for it. The Biden government or organized it, and that is it. They said the international community, I put in my article, has been trying for the longest while to talk to these people, to political parties, to come together to fight and work for a consensual arrangement to do government. But that has not been successful. Well, they might just have determined, that you better tell them the reality. The reality is that the government in Guyana for some time has always been more or less illegitimate. You have never been illegitimate. And it is time for us and you as in your party to make this point. Instead, I know something about your party thing, that they're talking about what to be done, as if they had to do it. There are too many people out there saying, "Oh, this is what is to be done, and I can do it, and I can do it." You can't do it. You might be able to do it, but even if you don't do it, there's no accountability to the populace. What are you going to do to bring public accountability to Guyana? What? And that is the central issue. Suriname even had a dictatorship in terms of Bouterse, and to some extent, that dictatorship ended up until he died. But what they did, their constitution curtail how government works. Government can't get one seat or even 3 seats. They can get 2/3 majority and all of that to become the government. So you can look at what's happened to Santos. You would say that he was going hard, but then what? He messed around with Brunswick, and the next thing Brunswick joined something. He's no longer president. And therefore, when that is in your mind, you will behave sensibly. And further, if you don't behave sensibly, there's a way to hold you accountable. Nobody, if the government wants to pass a law tomorrow, it's gonna pass a law. Nobody can stop it. And that's not even the president, because essentially the president is chosen by the leader of the ruling party. So what you got is party paramountcy par excellence.
Dr. Jeffrey, we have talked about the issue I want to for you to comment on before we go, and that is the issue of the continued absence of an opposition leader. I noticed the Win people were in front of Parliament yesterday protesting to the Speaker that there should be an election for the leader of the opposition. Is there a political crisis without a leader of the opposition? And put in context for us what you think is happening.
Nothing in Parliament can cause a political crisis. Just told you. Parliament is a waste of time group. If the government can go on and do what it wants, what's in Parliament to do? If the system don't force the government in any way to talk to parliamentarians, as we began this program by saying, the leader, the PPP decide not talking to the leader of the opposition, and they talk to the leader of the opposition, they go, they do what they like, they do. What crisis it can cause? It causes no crisis. In actual terms, and I don't think it is in legal terms. Somebody else will have to tell me that. I don't think, because you have a situation, you have a specific situation on the ground where the person that is likely to that would be the opposition leader is being now called upon to go and answer large crimes elsewhere, and you are asked now to essentially extradite him. No, in that you got a different situation. This is just not what the law said anymore. It's a whole lot of factors. It's a whole lot of factors, political factors, what it means to Guyana if it happens, what sort of thing. It's not just what the law said. Law is just not, is not practical in all situations. Indeed, in some situations, law can be unlawful. It can be totally unlawful. So what I'm saying to you, even if it is that the time pass, it's for the government and the opposition to know, just to make wild statement. The opposition should be asking the government clearly, please tell us, because it's only time we're playing away here with. It's not anything in big substance. It's only time. Please give us, when you go Parliament, your reason for this not happening in a timely manner and for this thing. Give us your reasoning, because this thing can have national implications of other sorts. You got to give that. So give us your reasoning. Just don't go on the street and say, the law said. You know, many things the law said. That can be easily got even immoral. Hitler passed all sorts of laws, and who was it? Can't remember his name. Professor says those laws are illegal, unlawful. Law is not justice.
Law is not justice.
Law tries to get close to justice, but it is not.
Yeah. Dr. Jeffrey here tonight, and this is a real complex question. I think I come down close to where Dr. Jeffrey is. I don't think there's a political crisis without an opposition leader. It only becomes a political crisis if the president or the government moves to do something that requires the legal participation of the opposition leader. Then we have a crisis on hand. Any smart government would avoid doing that without an opposition leader. And I know there's a lot of sympathy for the win situation, and even some APNU supporters are saying, well, the law says you must have an election for an opposition leader. I don't quite see it that way. I want to be very clear. There should be an election for the opposition leader. But I don't think it has reached the crisis point that people are making it out to be. The country can run without the opposition leader until such time that the law requires the opposition leader to assent to certain things. So I like Dr. Jeffrey, feel that the emphasis should not be on the election of the opposition leader. The emphasis for me should be on the autonomy of the National Assembly, so that the National Assembly makes its own rules and operates with some degree of separation of powers from the executive. I think that's where the constitutional reform comes in, and that's where our emphasis should be, because clearly the non-election of an opposition leader is because the speaker decide that it's not going to happen. The speaker is carrying out the political agenda of the ruling party, pure and simple. And as Dr. Jeffrey is saying, where the government is culpable, tell the opposition why you're not holding this election. Tell them that if you hold the election, there may be implications that may make things more complicated. So in that sense, the government is culpable. But like Jeffrey, I do believe that we are making too much of it, and that the emphasis should be on more separation of powers, where the president and the ruling party cannot decide how the parliament works, even though they have a majority in the parliament, that the parliament makes its own rules. Just my 2 cents there. Anything you want to comment on there, Dr. Jeffrey?
Well, David, you are always thorough. So, no, I mean, when I come on your program, I'm always asking myself, because you, man, don't tell people when they're coming to talk about, or you just give them some brief note. Oh, you just say something, your article, the last, some of them, you got to pick up all sorts of things. No, but you are normally quite thorough. You keep everybody on their toes. And so, no, I have nothing to add.
Yeah, but you know, when when you finish that PhD and you go to the university to teach, they throw all kind of courses that you never do in your PhD.
Exactly.
Teach
Even after I finish being a minister and go back to teach that, my God, go read up all sorts of things that I never. So anyway, thank you, David.
And thank you very much, my brother. It's always a pleasure. And I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. It's going to be close to Christmas, but keep nothing holds back politics in Guyana, not even Christmas.
It says it keeps you young, David. Stay in politics. Either that or go in religion.
Dr. Henry Jeffrey here, always a pleasure to have Jeffrey on. It just occurred to me, that and I was making the point there just now, that once you finish that PhD and you go to teach, they throw all kind of courses for you to teach. Some of it you never study during your PhD studies, but you're expected to teach them, in the sense that a real political scientist, a real political analyst is someone who has to be able to run the gamut. And that's what I like about people like Jeffrey and so on. They come on a program and you throw a curveball and they deal with it. It's, when I listen to people like the government ministers, recently Priya Manachan was trying to cuss me and so on. As I said, as much as it is a stretch these days, I still read, because once you're in the business of political commentary and political analysis, you have to read. And I still manage to read, and you serious people still read, still keep up, still refresh yourself. And I think part of the problem with the PPP government and general governments around the world, people get into the government and they start, they may be academics, they may be lawyers, they stop reading, they stop studying. And if you stop reading and stop studying, you stop bringing to your job that gaze that would allow you to see your society move in the ways that society sometimes move, and you're able to pick up. And so when you listen to my sister Priya and so on, in which I stated some concrete things, and I asked her, let us have a discussion on poverty alleviation, the most she respond with is cuss out, and it's a real sad commentary, because those are young people, and they are the ones who are running the country. And if you're running the country, you want to keep on top of what's happening. You want to keep on top of what's happening. And one of the things I'm glad about this audience and the audiences in our program, that you all tend to be sharp. So many times there are things that I miss or things that I forget, and very quickly somebody or a couple of people would say, Dr. Hines, here is the answer, this is the answer. And it shows that we have developed a community of reason, a community of people who are thinking through these matters. Practice arises out of thought, and thought generates practice. You can't have practice without thought. And these people we have who are running the government think they can run the government without putting thought into it. And that is why they're hostile to things like studies. We have had a cash grant. We have had a cash grant, and we have not had a study to look at the cash grant and see where we went wrong and where we went right and where we can improve. And you're moving into a second cash grant. So we have a governance culture that we don't know whether we are going right or wrong. We don't know, are we right from are we wrong? And that is why at the end of the day, the policies that the government implements don't yield the kind of results, because they're not guided by anything serious. Cash grants, cash transfers are a serious policy tool that is being used in the modern world. It's not a willy-nilly thing. Countries all over the world, the United Nations, they're studying cash transfers as a means of poverty alleviation. And you know, here cash transfer is like giving a freck and they're giving the thing a bad name. That is why we are insisting. We say, well, you do the first one. Get a competent team that's going to study the first one, see what you did correctly, see what you did wrong, answer the fundamental question. Did this 100,000 cash grant move the poverty index? Did it improve the lives of people materially? What is the effect of $100,000? Some of us may say we know the answer because we live in the society on the ground. But a government has to be guided by that. If you're not guided by that, then you give another 100,000 and it doesn't move the society. And that is why when people ask the question, how is it possible that you can have one of the fastest growing economy in the world? You can have such large oil reserves and your poverty rate can be so high because you are not linking the wealth to poverty alleviation. If the wealth is linked to poverty alleviation and you are doing so in a direct way, you are doing so in a deliberate way, then you are going to be able to say, we gave this cash transfer, and this is how it has impacted or not impacted poverty. And if you find out that $100,000 is too small an amount to make any serious alteration to the poverty situation, then you are likely to go back and say, ask the question, what is the minimum cash transfer that we can give over the next 4 years, 5 years, that's going to make an impact on poverty? That's serious government. That's serious government. That's government that is thinking about people. But when you're a government, all you're concerned with is controlling people, trying to buy votes, trying to win elections. You just do things. You just do things. If you're building more roads and it's leading to more road deaths, then something is wrong. And you're asking the question, how can I link the road project, the road program that we have to decreasing road fatalities? These are questions, these are serious questions that any government must answer. Our government does not. And our people have to get out of this thing that all you have to do is to build a road and we say development. You put up a big building, development. Never mind most of the big buildings you see in Georgetown are used for money laundering. But we say development. No, it's not development. A government must say, we are building these roads. These are the outcomes. Look at those little strips they're building in the villages. Those little concrete strips. They're worse than when we didn't have, when we had mud road. One car can barely drive there. Guyanese now have to be adept at reversing. Because two cars meet up, one guy reverse because they can't pass. What is the utility of those strips? Unless they're one-way roads. And you know you can't do one-way roads in villages. You have to get police there to make sure that people drive down the road. So one-way roads are out. They're, for all intents and purposes, one-way strips that are meant for two-way traffic. What nonsense in 2025. And I think some of us have to stop this nonsense of giving the government the impression it's doing well. It's not doing well. You are restricting traffic in the villages rather than helping traffic for free flow of traffic. You're not helping the free flow of traffic. You're impeding the free flow of traffic. You're taking the country backwards. Yes, it's concrete road rather than dirt road. But that's the only thing that is an advance. It amounts to the same thing. It is impeding the free flow of traffic. And so this government is not a serious government. It is not a serious government. It is not serious about poverty, ending poverty. And if you're not serious about ending poverty, you can't be serious about development, because at the center of development is human development. How are human beings' lives? How are their lives impacted by these roads you're building? How is the education output of our children getting better with the school buildings you're building? What is the linkage between the buildings and the learning process? This government is not a serious government. And it is carrying the society down the drain with it, because it is making the society less and less adept at recognizing the difference between an act and the consequence of the act. Because supporters of government are going to clap. Here, 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 look what the government is building roads. Look what the government is this. Look what the government is that. We have two-way roads. And look at the level of road fatalities. You know what's going to happen when we get 4-lane roads? What is the plan of the government to regulate traffic? Children, old people are being knocked down at pedestrian crossing. What is the objective of pedestrian crossing if people are killed on the pedestrian crossing? What is the government doing? What about traffic lights? That at least there's going to be something there to compel the drivers to stop. The rate at which things going, some of them will still fly past the traffic light, but at least it will compel most of them, I think, to stop. But if you don't have traffic light to stop people, you think them little white mark on the road stopping anybody? There has to be a comprehensive plan if you are developing a country. You can't develop a country with dunces. I'm sorry if I sound elitist, but you cannot develop a country with dunces. Now, there could be bright people who could wreck a country too. I'm not making any argument that brightness is an end in itself. But you cannot develop a country with dunces. What is the objective? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to improve the quality of life of the people? If the poverty rate is 48%, it means half of the population is living on $1,100 or less. Look at the prices of things on the shelf, and that will give you an idea how many people are not able to afford at least one proper meal. And so I'm saying the government is useless. The government is unaccountable, unimaginative. But we, the people, have to demand better from the government. If we go along with the nonsense that as you see something new is development, then what the government is doing is fooling us. And we are helping in the process of fooling ourselves. Guyana is one of the least developed countries in the world. It is one of the countries with the highest growth rate. But then the total opposite outcome. How can we link the input? The input, that is the oil revenue and the other revenues. How can we link them to an outcome that will do justice to the input? Government is about putting something in the system percolates, and something comes out of the system. If you put in $2 trillion in the system, the budget is coming in a couple of weeks. It's going to be over 1.5 trillion. If you put in $1.5 trillion into the system, and by way of the quality of life of the people, by way of the quality of life of the people, you are getting less than a quarter of the 1.5 trillion. You ask yourself, where the 1.5 trillion gone when you put it in the system? It means that the system is stealing the money because you're not seeing it in the quality and improvement in the quality of lives of the people. So there we have it, sisters and brothers. I'm going to be off tomorrow night. I'm traveling. And on Thursday night, I shall be with the family. So we have 2 days break. I shall be back on Friday night. So tomorrow night, I'm traveling. And Thursday night, I'm, like most of you all, hanging out with family and so on. And we will be back on Thursday night. Always love is paramount. Always. Love you all. Happy Thanksgiving to those of you Americans and those of you who are not Americans. All strain until Friday.